Oh, the music started over. No, stop. Okay, we're good. Hello, and welcome back. It's been a while. How are y'all doing?
Just over 2 years, I think we just worked out.
2 years? Wow.
It's been a while.
I think the last episode we said we'll see you real soon.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well.
This time we're really going to do it. We're really going to go back to a schedule 2 years later. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
You know, we say that now. I'm just going to say that.
Look, first time around, like when we said we'll see you soon, it was because we thought that the pandemic was over. And then we had Pandemic Mark II.
How naive were we in December of 2020?
Yeah.
Well, without any further ado, though, I think it's finally time to say, hello, everyone. My name is Matoro, and today's date is Saturday, February 18th, 2023. And at long last, welcome back to Boosters and Space Tape Relaunched, the podcast about Kerbal Space Program, real space, and other cool and sciencey stuff. With me are my friends and fellow hosts, Akinesis Gaming,
Hello.
Digital Psychosis, and the Red Panda.
Hello. You know, it's appropriate that we keep having trouble with launches.
Well, yes, actually, that's KSP all over, isn't it?
With KSP and...
Yeah.
Actually, we're just following the KSP2 trend. That promised to come out in
2 years.
2020. Yeah.
Totally on brand. Right.
If they're going to be 2 years late, we can be 2 years late.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
We're not on time. We're part of the development schedule.
Yeah.
Like, we're completely on time.
Because we've been preparing for this one episode for the last 2 years.
Yeah, really, yeah, we have.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins.
Oh, shoot, I just realized I'm recording in 60 FPS. We're fine. This is fine.
Nothing to see here.
It's all right. It's fun. 60 FPS. It's okay.
Who knows? This episode might be limited by my disk space. We'll find out.
Oh, please, no.
But, yeah, we're finally back, and it's 2023.
2 years
So-
ago, you were having trouble with disk space. How is it 2 years later you're still having trouble with disk space?
There is only an 80 gig drive in this streaming computer. Look,
Have you
I haven't fixed it yet.
you thought about getting a bigger drive?
80 gig? That's all?
Yeah, I don't know why it's only 80. But, yeah, I've thought about it. I just haven't acted on doing that yet, so
2 years.
it's fine. This is fine.
2 years.
This is fine.
We'll see.
Okay.
So, obviously we're recording offline today, but we're finally back and getting into things here again because of something special that is happening, 5 days from now? No, 6 days from now.
Well,
Six days.
depends which time zone you're in.
Yeah,
For Digi,
well,
it's 5 days.
Look, it's not far away. That's all I can say.
it's coming fast. And that special thing for those that may be out of the loop is Kerbal Space Program 2 coming to early access. But we're going to get into that in just a little bit because, it's been what? You two figured it out. You three figured it out. It's been, 2 years?
Just over. Yeah.
Just shy? Just over 2 years? Yeah. So I'm sure we've had a lot going on in our lives since then. So, yeah.
Yeah.
This might take a minute.
Nah, it's good.
I guess I can kick things off, though, by saying I built a Lego rocket yesterday.
Yay.
Nice.
It's an Atlas V. It's pretty cool. But I've done way... Oh, no, it's falling apart.
Where
I was
did
going
you
to say,
get
is that
from?
all you did in the last 2 years? Build a
Feels like
rocket?
it. No. Actually, I should count how many launches I've been to in the last 2 years, but just last year alone, I went to 20? I saw 20. Before that was 16 or so, I think. 14, I don't know. I can't count. We've established that. But other than that, I've stayed busy. I've been traveling. Yes, in the time after the end times, of course. I've been traveling around the country, mainly to Seattle. I know the name of the launch site on the East Coast. It's not Kennedy. Wallops. I've been to Wallops. Been to Tennessee a few times. I've been busy. I went to Starbase a couple times in since our last episode. Was that? Yeah. That was 2021. Saw Artemis 1. That was incredible. Never seen a launch before that actually hurt to look at, but that one hurt to look at. It was that bright.
No, not because it was a terrible launch.
No. It was very satisfying to watch launch because I made 3 trips for that thing and it finally went on the 3rd trip. So, and I've been very busy with photography. I have a camera. Well, I actually have 3 cameras now, so help. I want more. It's never ending.
I could go talk to you about camera tech all day, every day. I really could. I've spent far too much money on my cameras, and then I look at the one that you've got, and I just go, "You've spent way more than I have, just on that one."
I mean, just in the frame, you can kind of see the other 2 are sitting right there. They're all Canon DSLRs, so I've spent a lot of money.
Full frame?
The crop sensor. I want a full frame, though.
What sort of photography? Other than rockets? I'm going to say the rockets is a given there.
Well, they're the launches which I cover as part of Space Scout when I go down to Florida, and just general nature photography. Sometimes a very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but an attempt at astrophotography.
I was going to say,
I don't have a star tracker or anything.
Got to be doing some of that, surely.
That's a whole nother kind of rabbit hole in terms of photography, so I have not touched that yet. The most I've done is take photos of the moon, the sun, with a filter, and then stars, and that's it. And a meteor shower. I'd actually caught a few meteors. I think that was last year.
Hey.
So that was cool. Yeah, I mean, I do a variety of photography, which if you're interested in my photography, I'm going to shameless plug this. You can go check out my photography at www.davidD.photography. Hey, and that's my spiel.
Do it. And
that's
in my personal opinion, not that it's worth very much, it's fucking amazing. It's really cool stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you.
If you love this band the way we do.
Beep.
What was that, Aki?
Yeah, there's the NASA beep.
There's the NASA beep, yeah.
Ah.
I think it's the appropriate
I forgot about the
timing
NASA beep.
for the NASA beep.
Oh, boy.
You're welcome.
It has begun. We're back.
It has begun. It's just not the same without me here.
Right? Oh, ain't that the truth? But yeah, on top of all of that, that's about all I've done. I've kept streaming. I celebrated my 10 years on Twitch earlier this week, so that was fun. I forgot about it until 2 days before, so that just snuck up on me. I was like, oh, what do I do today?
Oh, that's a thing.
How long was that, sorry?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years.
Yep.
Wow. That's a whole decade.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've
You can measure
I've streamed for a third of my life.
You can, yes, you can measure your streaming in decades now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm aware. But that's about what I've been up to. It's just been Kerbal, Minecraft, a lot of modded Minecraft lately. It's helped me. I can't escape. But yeah, that's been me. So
well, how about
Aki,
I talk about what I've been doing then? I'll jump in ahead of Aki real quick.
All right. Well, if you want to, sure.
Might as well. I mean, look,
Well, my life's not interesting. I get the hint.
Shut up, Aki. Jeez. We'll let you talk about yours last, maybe, because you've probably had a few things happen. I have got a very short explanation. Aside from lockdowns and all of those things that happened, towards the start of the pandemic and through the middle of the pandemic, Melbourne was one of the most locked down cities in the entire planet. It was locked down quite a bit And during that time, I lost a job. I changed jobs. I'm working a fantastic job that I absolutely love. I ended up stopping streaming. I quit streaming not long after the end of our last recording in 2020. Yeah, I stopped streaming. That was after 10 years of creating content. So while Matoro celebrates, I retire after a decade in. So yeah, I gave that the flick for a while, and yeah, I've been focused very much on family and work and mental health and all of those things. So it's been quite a different environment for me. As far as on a KSP standpoint, I've just been hanging for KSP2, so I haven't played any of it at all. I've been playing everything else under the sun, though. And yeah, that's me. That's all I've done. Red, do you want to take the reins?
Sure. I've been doing absolutely nothing.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
No, all I've been doing is the same thing I've always been doing, which is streaming and trying to stay alive. So, you know, it's not nearly as exciting or interesting, but, you know, I haven't been going to launches. I haven't been starting new jobs. I don't have any kids. You know, it's just me, just doing what I do. So, I've been doing some KSP recently to sort of get back into the swing of it with KSP2 coming out. But that's about it. So, you know, I've been streaming 5 days a week, give or take, for now almost 8 years. So, or over 8 years. So,
Jeez.
So you're coming up on your decade too.
Whew, that is impressive.
So, you know, that's what I've been doing. So, and you can see me, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on Twitch usually. So that's
Wasn't
about
it shortly after you started streaming that you came on this podcast?
About a year, I think.
Was it?
I never was Oak Tree 42 when we did the podcast, and I didn't change
Yeah, you
over
were.
until a year after
were.
You were Oak Tree. I've still got the original intro. You were Oak Tree
Oh.
at that point.
Okay,
We
well
had
then,
that
I made
awkward
that
period
intro.
where we're calling you Oak Tree still when you had changed to the Red Panda. It was a hard
Oh, okay.
transition.
well, it was,
That was good times.
yeah, it was that happened exactly 1 year after I started streaming. So
There you go.
the changeover did. So if that
So-
gives you any reference,
Well, it's because that's about the age of this podcast, then, isn't it?
yeah, about
We've
7
released
years.
about 7 episodes in all of that time.
Yeah, well, 1 episode a year. Right, that doesn't
Yeah,
seem
this-
Steady
right. though.
pace
Yeah, and
wins
this
the race.
is where we go. Yeah, the podcast has been running 8 years. Private division, please notice me, senpai.
Oh,
Longest running KSP podcast.
Yeah.
We may not have the most episodes, but the longest running time-wise.
we have more than 8 episodes, just to be clear.
Just to be clear.
No, we
more than
do.
eight
It's
episodes,
Three
that's true.
different podcasts?
Yes, 9.
No, stop that. Quit underselling us. You're making us sound pathetic.
No, well, I got the stats up, didn't I, last time we got
Yeah, I
together
think we had like
recently?
47 episodes of the original or something.
Something
or
like that. In
was it
total.
40? Oh,
Because there was a short debate as to whether we're going to start a new season here or
Yeah.
we're just going to let them out as specials until we can get some sort of
But-
consistency again.
I think
Like
it
we
should
ever
be a
had a
season.
consistency.
What's consistency? The only
even
consistency
had-
I have is the consistency of pudding. Like,
when it became public we were coming back online, Linux Guru Gamers like, and I wasn't invited. So we may have a willing guest in the near future at that rate.
Well, that would be good.
Linux, if you are listening, we would love to have you. You know we would. And we
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to gush a little bit here. Linux, my level of admiration and respect for the work that you have done over the many, many years of Kerbal far exceeds the respect that I have for these three clowns. So,
Thanks.
Wow. All right.
right?
Well.
And I love these guys. Right? I reckon these three guys are absolutely amazing. They are brothers from other mothers. I have so much respect for what you do. We would love to have you at any point in time.
He's like the cement of KSP1 now.
I was going to say, as someone who actually wrote a mod and got to the point where he couldn't maintain it anymore and handed it over to him, I absolutely agree.
Your generosity with your time is amazing.
It was like bringing a beer to a brewery, though, wasn't it? With Linux, giving him one mod.
Well, I mean, he's actually expanded and improved on it. So
this is me doing my Aki impersonation. Hey, Gov, can you make this pint better, a little bit better, mate? Thank you. Please.
I do not
Hey,
sound
Frodo,
like
we're going to Mordor. We'll throw a bit of scat in there. Why not?
I don't know what that was.
I have no idea where that was, but okay.
You just created your own
Look,
little...
I'm Australian, so, my accent is already a mongrel of a thing, so...
Oh, I think I'm peeking out here. You made me laugh too loudly.
Yes!
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry about the peak, Saki.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I think
Clean
it's
it
going
up
to be
in
the
post.
least of my worries. Yes, clean it up in post. Yeah. Nothing's changed
Clean it
there,
in
is it? If
post,
there is,
fix
there's
it in
one thing that's
post,
been
you got
consistent about
this.
this podcast.
It's peaking, yes.
Peaking, lip smacks, ums and ahs.
Oh, God.
And a little bit of...
Anyway,
I just
So
leave it
there's-
in now anyway, it's fine.
nothing really spectacular changed in the last 2 years for me, so just trying to keep on keeping on, and that's about it. So
Aren't we all?
I think that's really the theme of the last 3 years, is that we've all just been trying to keep on keeping on and surviving,
yep, I feel like that's the way for a lot of people recently.
Treading
so,
water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think we're finally reaching a point where things might change. Maybe that's my opinion, but, we'll see. We'll see.
I have no doubt they'll change. I just have no idea if it'll be for the better.
I guess we'll have to
we-
wait and see, won't we?
Talking about this podcast, or are we just talking about life?
I mean,
Just in
look,
general.
there's-
Life in
yes.
general.
On the
I was
next
talking about
episode
life
of
in general.
Dragon-
I was in,
On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
I'm actually quite happy we've started the podcast again, so
well, let's not say started. Let's not jump to conclusions here.
We've
Restarted.
We've
The
started.
stars,
We're
the
done.
stars have aligned on a very
Guys,
rare cloudy
Guys,
night.
I'm gonna be really clear. We're making this happen. It is staying, and this is for all of our viewers. Like this is a commitment from me that this podcast is happening. Right.
And you,
Welcome to season 4.
and you can
welcome
look
to
forward to
season
our
4.
next episode in February of 2027.
Yes.
yeah. Nobody didn't say when. He just said it's a promise that it will keep going.
Then we get a tweet from Private Division saying, "Yeah, so we're delaying the launch of KSP2 until February 2027." It's like we called it. We called it.
You heard it
We
here
got
first.
it right.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, guys.
Oh, maybe that's the date for final release. I mean, they are doing early access first.
Welcome to our 30th episode, 20 years after episode 1 was released.
Yeah, we're all sitting here, grey hairs going on. Welcome to our latest episode, gentlemen.
Oh no, I've pissed myself again.
Oh dear, clean up on Iolaki.
Well, on the upside, I'll be dead, so I won't be here to see it.
Not with that attitude, no.
If we have to wait 30 years, I'd be 80. So
Look, I'm a cranky old man already, so, 30 years from now, I can only imagine what that would be like.
I miss you guys.
well, I guess that's one thing I accomplished in the last couple of years. I turned 50, so I mean, that's something, I guess.
Is this a part where we all break into song and go happy?
No, this is that's not this part. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, we won't. Sorry. Complete and total derail. I know Aki hasn't had a chance to speak yet.
Yeah, let's hand it over
Half an
to
hour
Aki.
in, yeah.
Oh, well.
I might as well just skip me and just go straight to the content.
Nope. You have to do it too.
Humiliate yourself, Aki.
Well, I suppose the most fun thing that's happened in the last 2 years is probably the least fun thing, actually. But Digi might be able to relate. During COVID, the old homeschooling, I've never been so stressed in my life. Anyway, the result of it was that I had to get my children their own computers. So they've all got, in fact, my son's got my old one. I got myself a new one. I say new, it's nearly 3 years old. It is 3 years old itself. And I got my daughters a computer each. They all had their computers because trying to do 3 children on one computer just wasn't fun at all. So they all got their own computers. Anyway, with that came Minecraft. And I thought, how fun would it be if I got them into Minecraft? Because actually they learn Minecraft stuff at school because of the programming side of stuff and all of that. So we all got Minecraft and I started playing Minecraft with them, which was amazing for about the first 10 minutes. I think I was a couple of weeks into it, and I logged in. We built a house and everything. I went and did mining and brought all the iron ore back, and then to find that the kids would then log on and take all the ores that I've mined, turn them into nice shiny things, and then lose them in lava, generally. It was the most popular thing to do. And then I'd log back in to find that, and then I'd also find the animals had escaped from the pens, and the crops had all been harvested but not replanted, so there was no food, and generally the house was on fire as well. And of course it made the house out of wood because it looked pretty.
Of course.
And then there was no house. And I got to a point where I was logging on so much, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? Because what I do in Minecraft is what I do in real life. I let my kids play, and then I put them to bed, and then I'd log on and tidy up all the mess that they created in real life in the game. And then as soon as I'd finished that, I'd then go downstairs and tidy up all the mess they created in real life. So I kind of doubled my workload as a parent. So we don't play Minecraft anymore. They now play Roblox, which I'm not part of. So that's probably been the most interesting development in my life in the last couple of years. That's born out of computer stuff.
Those people that say get your kids into gaming are just wrong.
They are wrong. Wrong.
It's not a family activity. It's a drive dad insane activity.
I was getting so angry because it was, and they'd wake up in the morning and we go downstairs. This is in Minecraft, not in real life. We'd go downstairs and then they'd go outside and you hear this kaboom because a creeper's just exploded near them, and then you just see all the mrrr, and all the cows are running out of the pen again. And I was getting so angry, and then my son started crying. I was like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I've just set the house on fire.
Again.
The house was on fire. It was just a rinse repeat.
And internally, your brain is just playing the Benny Hill theme.
I just had that moment where I was like, what am I doing with my life? I've moved all the stress from real life and duplicate it and inserted it into my fun life, my escapism, which is gaming and Minecraft.
I'm sorry. It's far too funny. I shouldn't be laughing because it's like, yeah, I know how this feels, but my God, is it funny?
It's funny to look back on. I'm semi-laughing.
Totally.
I've still got some emotional trauma from it, but I'm mostly recovered.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm okay.
I'm paying for a Minecraft server that we don't use anymore because I don't log back in because of all the tidying up I'll have to do.
You know what?
As a server owner, I understand.
It's just better if I pretend it's not there.
Back it up and cancel it.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
but it's also very nice because it's the first world that me and my children have,
Oh yeah, that's
created.
why you back it up. That's why you're backing up. Yeah,
Do you know what? Sorry to go back to it, because the more I think about it, the more I remember. They steal things off each other in the game as well, just like they do in real life. It's just a copy and paste of real life, just into a virtual world.
Oh,
And they
my
argue.
God.
Amazing.
You ever heard
Yeah.
children on Mumble all speaking at the same time in your head?
Oh,
Look, my
I
kids.
forgot Mumble existed.
I've got one child who is of an age that they can play Minecraft. The other kids are not capable of playing Minecraft yet. You know, I mean, hell, the twins are currently still pooping themselves. So, you know,
I still do that now. So
I mean, look, I do need to change my colostomy bag, so, you know, fine. Yeah, look, I haven't had that experience of the kids driving each other nuts, but I feel you. I watch them play Roblox and they just scream at each other the whole time.
Oh, so your kids
"Don't
play
kill
Roblox
me,
too?
ah!"
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
This person's being mean to me. There's a girl in my house and I don't want her in there. It's like, welcome to the online world.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to Twitter, kids. Matsuro, take control, buddy, or else we're going to keep going all
Yeah,
day.
sorry. So that was my life. That was my kids moving into the virtual world and me being part of that. That was my
Needless to say, a lot has gone on in the last 2 years.
yeah.
2 years and some change. So,
Yep.
obviously, like I said before, we're here to talk about Kerbal 2. But before we get to that, we wanted to talk about our fondest memories in KSP1. So, I think the best person to kick that off right now is probably Digi.
Me. Okay. So as you guys know, I am a big fan of recreating science fiction vessels in KSP. So for me, my fondest memory was hacking the game so that I could so that I had unlimited fuel, like using the unlimited fuel thing, and building a rocket that would send off a snow speeder from Star Wars all the way to Elu. And then flying around Elu in a snow speeder. It was fun as hell. And like it felt like the void. Like there's nothing out there. It just felt like, you know, Pluto, the whole Pluto experience that we had when New Horizons arrived at Pluto. Because Elu is effectively the analog of Pluto, for me, that kind of round-tripped my whole Kerbal experience, personally. Because, yeah, New Horizons, when that happened and we all got together with lots of other Kerbal streamers and, you know, had a really big event about it, it was an amazing time.
That was a fun day.
That was a really fun day. That was lots of people.
That was a busy Discord chat.
Sure was. I think it was like 15 of us or something, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. So, for me, in-game was most definitely flying around Elu in a snow speeder and anything that was around New Horizons and Pluto outside of it. That's me. Who else wants to talk?
Totally get that. Well, how about we go to you next, Red?
Well, I have two very fond memories. One of which was when I hit 1,000 followers as Oak Tree 42. I built a base on the moon that housed 1,000 Kerbals.
Oh.
Did you actually take the 1,000 Kerbals up there?
I used a mod that allowed me to create Kerbals out of ore.
Out of ore?
Wait,
Yes.
what?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
dodgy
it was a
science
cloning.
going
It
on.
was a cloning mod that allowed you to create Kerbals out of ore, and I used that in order to
all right. Saruman,
to fill it
calm
up.
down. Saruman, you need to calm down. Creating an entire goblin army out of the soil.
Do you have any idea how many of the Mark III people things that took. I mean, it was just hundreds.
It's amazing.
Can imagine.
All I can think of is lag.
Oh, yes. No. And several times it blew up. Yes. So it was quite an adventure. And I still don't think I actually fully accomplished it, but it was a lot of fun to try. And then the other thing that really brings a smile to my face when I think about it is when I was on KSP TV, and over a period of about 6 months, I built the ISS replicating each of the launches historically. And building it one launch at a time with I took time to build each part just as it would be historically, moving the parts on the ISS historically. The only problem was that my space shuttle, while it was quite good at taking things up, tended to get into a flat spin on the way down. I could not get the balance on the way down properly, so I finally just gave up and put air brakes and parachutes on it so that I could get it to land without blowing up.
If it works.
So, but the important part was the building of each component and launching it in the order that they were officially historically launched, and assembling them just as they were, and trying to recreate it with the parts that were fairly stock as best as I could. And that was a long process and a very fun process. And it just gives you an idea of what you can do in KSP1 if you're willing to just take the time to do all the fine detail. It really... And
for those that don't get how huge that project is, it's a lot. That's a lot of launches.
Yes.
Here I'm talking about going around the furthest planet out in a made-up snow speeder, and
on infinite fuel.
On infinite fuel, like I'm tweaking the game just to cheat, and this guy's doing everything correctly.
Yeah, I actually went and researched each launch vehicle and used the launch vehicles that were appropriate for each module. So the first ones were using like Russian rockets and things like that. And then when we got to the space shuttle ones, I recreated the space shuttle to the best of my ability and used that. And as I said, I couldn't get in order to make it work properly in the launch and docking, I could not make it work properly on the landing. I could make it work all the way down to about 20 kilometers up, and then it would just go into a flat spin. You know,
shuttles are so hard.
Yes.
You know, shuttles are so hard. I've never done well with trying to land a plane or a shuttle, but I'm pretty good at the rest of it. Docking, I've gotten very good at, you know, and things like that.
We've got to be fair though, to put it in perspective. The shuttle is a terrible design. Like, it is
a flying brick.
It's a flying brick. It shouldn't fly. It really shouldn't fly. It did. Don't get me wrong. It did the job. But no, it should not exist. It should never have existed, but it does. So
anyway, so that's my fondest memory of the longest project I did in KSP. I mean, I've done things like I dropped a Kerbal at every single point of interest in the stock system. I've done all kinds of things, but you know that, and things like when I landed on Joule.
Back as well.
No, I didn't.
You just left them there.
Just left them there.
There you go. You're my achievement.
Home now.
Enjoy your life.
But landing on Joule, when I got to negative 10 meters on Joule and finally my craft exploded, you know.
That's hectic.
That was fun. But no, the ISS replica step by step, that really, I'd actually like to try to do something like that in KSP2 once it's out. So That's the kind of thing I'm because it looks to me like they've got some interesting shuttle parts from the trailer drops, and
They've also shown videos of dropping probes through the gas giants as well.
Yeah. So these are things that I'm looking forward to, but we'll talk about more about that when we get to our KSP2 section. But for KSP1, the fact that I could build the ISS like that, and they've added parts since I did that. They've added entire sections, like the inflatable bit and things like that.
There's your 10-year stream.
Yeah.
There's your 10-year stream.
Yeah. So, rebuild the ISS. It's not a 10 years. It's not a thing you can do quickly.
Years to do it. For your 10th anniversary.
But my point is, it's not something I could do on a weekend. It would have to be like months and months to do it properly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I hope to do something like that. And I encourage other people to try things like that. It gives certainly a sense of accomplishment. So anyway, so that's mine.
All right. Well, Aki, you want to take it next?
Yeah. All right. Mine definitely goes back to when I was streaming, and I'm pretty sure it was 0.90.
That's a while back.
But how good was that release? Apart from the 3-hour memory leak, it was a very good version.
Yeah, look,
I don't remember which one that was.
0.90. That was
the beta.
That was before Kerbal. Kerbin had air resistance.
The soup.
The soup. You had to go up to 10 kilometers before you turned, was it?
Yeah.
With no aerodynamic fairings or cones at all. Because it actually slowed you down.
Yeah. You go up 10 kilometers and then turn over to 45 degrees or something like that.
Yep.
Newer players will never know the pain.
No.
They might. We don't know.
We do what KSP's going to do too. It's KSP2.
Yeah, fair.
You don't know.
Yeah. But I use
perhaps
aerospace.
that's a menu option. Soup mode. Well, maybe it's just a tick box that has gazpacho written on it.
In brackets for the true veterans.
Yes.
Oh God.
But it was 0.9, and actually, I'd say it's my fondest memory. It's by far my least favourite memory of all the memories I have of KSP, probably. But when you look back on things, they hold something different to what they were putting you through at the time you're actually doing them. But it was streaming. It was when I was exploring the solar system in sandbox mode, and I'm very sure it was 0.90, the version of it. And Red, you were there as Oak Tree 42, and it was when I was trying to land on Eve with an SSTO, single stage to orbit. Yeah,
and
it was
this mistake.
Abominable. You know what I'm trying to say? This terrible, horrendous monstrosity of a craft.
Yeah.
Sasquatch of a craft?
Yes. Yeah. So it was a shuttle that went down to land on Eve, but it was when the Mark III... I made it out of the Mark III spaceplane parts, and it was when they were balked, when they would just suddenly, randomly disintegrate and fall apart for no reason. And I made this thing out of those parts, and the amount of attempts it took to get into the atmosphere without these things just falling apart. And there's a video, I've put the video on YouTube actually, it's a cut down version of it. And we got into the lower atmosphere, I managed to slow down enough. There was a cheat. I can't remember, it was a cheat option, not too dissimilar to the unlimited fuel, but it was something to do with keeping all the parts together.
Yeah.
Almost
this
like...
was pre-auto strut, of course.
Yeah, it's almost like an auto strut feature. It helped somewhat, but didn't help completely. And I eventually got down to the surface, but as I went to land on the surface, I tied the wheel brakes into some air brakes that I had. The air brakes were very much, like the shuttle tailplane splits into two as an air brake. Mm-hmm. Well, I had two tailplanes, and they each had a control surface on the back that would act in a very similar way. but it would put too much stress on the tailplane, so the back end of the plane just kept falling off every time. And it was back in
Back end fell off.
the tailplane fell off.
Yeah, the tail of the plane fell off. Yeah.
The tail of the plane fell off. And not the front. The front didn't fall off. Actually,
yeah, that's good.
The front was the only bit that survived.
Clark and Door. Yeah. The front fell off.
Yeah.
The front fell off.
Front fell off. Yeah, it was, but it was also at a stage where you couldn't, once you tied action groups together, you couldn't untie them.
No.
So every time I put the wheel
remember
brakes
those
on,
days.
yeah, every time I put the wheel brakes on, the air brakes went, and that's what, and the drag of that, the stress of that, ripped the back of the ship off every time.
Wow.
And I normally started my stream about 7 p.m. and I didn't finish until 3 a.m. just trying to land this damn shuttle onto the surface of Eve, which I did eventually. But going back to what Red said earlier, I did it with parachutes because it was the only way that I could get it onto the ground. But you think it ends there? It doesn't, because we had to take off again. We had to take off again, and I had the same problem in reverse. And I never want to see that space plane ever again. Obviously, the Mark III parts are fixed now, but I've still got that 0.90 save. I've still got it on my computer, so I could load it. And that little, so the space plane itself was in some form a traditional shuttle style, but it had two big boosters strapped to the top of the wings to get it off the surface of Eve, and then those boosters fell away, and then once it got up to a certain altitude, the cockpit then was a stage in itself with its own fuel tank, so the whole space plane fell away, just left this little cockpit. And I think I got back into orbit of Eve with about 50 meters a second delta V remaining. Wow. In this little cockpit. But because I didn't quite get the I can't even remember. I've forgotten all the terminology now. It's been that long. But the orbits didn't quite match. They're on a quite slightly different angle.
Oh no!
So I had to burn what fuel was left in the cockpit to align with the ship that was capturing this ascent vehicle, and I didn't realise until I ran out of fuel that it was back into the atmosphere. So I then had it was a race against time to go and pick up this little capsule, get the Kerbals out before it plummeted back into Eve, which I did.
Oh wow!
I did it.
Nice.
I did.
That's amazing.
But
That's awesome.
that fuel that I burned to rescue my little ascent vehicle was the fuel that was supposed to take the Kerbals back to Kerbin.
So they got stuck in orbit.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, because I know how rubbish I am at playing this game, I left a spare fuel canister or stage around Gilly.
Excellent.
Smart.
Amazing.
Well, I just knew how foolish I am. So, but they did get back to Kerbin, not in the ship they were supposed to. They didn't have enough fuel to go to the ship that they needed to go back to Kerbin in, so I had to modify, and that was, I had Kaz, so I was able to modify the craft enough that it would enter back into Kerbin's atmosphere. And the ship that was supposed to go back to Kerbin stayed on Gilly. It's a much more fun time than what I'm probably explaining. But that would be my fondest.
It sounds amazing.
It does.
It was fun to watch the video.
I think we've all had the woes of trying to land and take off from Eve. No matter what the vehicle is, getting off Eve, it's a nightmare.
It is.
I've never done it.
If it wasn't for the Borks, have you not?
I have not.
Well, that was the idea of that
I've
stream.
managed to get off Eve and into orbit, and then I've gone, I got off Eve, done, cool, close the game, that's it. All right. But I tell you, there is one thing that I never did in KSP1. I have never been to Moho.
Really?
Really?
You never saw the mohole?
Look, I've tweaked to get to the Mohole and have a look at it, but I have never actually been to Moho of my own volition, like doing it properly.
Oh. I actually landed a Kerbal on the edge of the mohole so I could look into it.
Yes. Yeah.
I've thrown a Kerbal in, so that was me tweaking it. I'm like, I'm throwing the Kerbal in just to see what happens.
I think
and
I have 5.
It does become spaghetti. It's kind of amazing.
I think I F5'd and then did that just for science. And then
Yeah, no,
F9 again.
I looked back at my wife. She gave me a nod, and I kicked it in the chest, going, "This is Sparta," and just over it went.
This is Moho. Get it right.
This is Moho.
Suddenly this brings to mind the water fundraiser. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
I forget the name of the fundraiser now, but people were driving rovers on Duna, and I drove a rover from the South to North Pole on Duna, and it was the longest stream I have ever done on Twitch. It took me
Charity
15 hours to drive from the South Pole to the North Pole. Ooh. And this was just after fuel cells had been introduced. And rather than use an RTG, I dropped refueling stations along the path and had to dock with the refueling stations to refuel and keep the fuel cells going. And because you couldn't manually adjust the suspension once you were there, and as I used fuel, it went up, my balance wasn't right, and I had to ram into the docking ports until it would connect in order to get the fuel into the vehicle.
I love it.
Excellent.
I will fuel today.
Exactly. So that was, my goodness, that was a thing. And that was such a long drive. My goodness. And every so often I'd stop in F5 just because I knew I might flip over and blow up.
Inevitably.
And several times. But
you're setting a timer on your phone so that it gives you an alert every half hour just to hit F5 and save. Like, oh God, must save.
That was the longest stream I've ever done, and I would never do that again. I don't do 24-hour streams, and that 15-hour stream almost broke me. So, but it was a heck of a thing. So,
well, if I may, a lot of the fondest memories as well. Not to gush, but it is the community stuff we used to do, wasn't it? The reason why we're together now was that. Well, Rocket Jockeys, wasn't it? Is what it ended up becoming.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the thing that I think Squad realized this early on is that the community that they built around Kerbal far exceeded the game itself. Like everything that I got from Kerbal was basically people.
Yeah.
The amount of like-minded people and detailed conversation, and while I absolutely loved everything to do with space and rockets and engineering and all of that, while I was growing up, I didn't have really anyone to talk to on that level. To finally have a community of people who are going, hey, we like to do this thing too, was just the thing that stood out for me as Kerbal Space Program's greatest achievement, is just bringing a bunch of wonderful people together.
Well, Digi, you and I met up with a couple of others, and we went to Esperance to the Skylab crash flight.
We did, yes. We travelled, I think it was 3,000 something kilometres.
It was a long way, and I think I slept.
It was
for
a
most
long
of it.
bloody way. It was myself, it was Akinesis, it was Coffee, and it was Nubius.
There's some names I haven't heard in a long time.
Right.
Yeah. So the four of us basically got into a car and drove across the Nullarbor plain, and we streamed.
Streamed from Esperance.
We did. Do
you know what? I completely forgot about that until now.
Oh, really?
We actually did a stream, didn't we?
That was 2016. 2016 we did that, and it's 2023.
How does it make you feel that was 7 years ago?
Shut up.
You're welcome.
Well, I still get the Facebook memories pop up on my feed of us standing there in the Skylab Museum. Because our original intention was to stream from the museum, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but the ladies there,
but they couldn't put us
bless
up.
them, they had no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, get out, you want to stream? Like, what are you talking about? What is this stream?
There's just a couple of older ladies running the entire museum, and they were lovely. Quite knowledgeable for what they they had, but it didn't have necessarily the place of admiration in their hearts, I think, that we had, because they'd been around it for so long.
Mm.
You know,
So we did it from the hotel room instead, which worked very well.
It did, surprisingly.
It worked very well.
Yeah. And we did it on 4G. Surprisingly enough, we did it using a 4G dongle.
Probably
Just
the best
crazy.
internet connection I've ever had.
Yeah, right.
And now we live in the time of 5G.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
only for those that don't want their brains constantly scanned and... Yeah. Anyway, different conversation.
Yes.
Elon's going to put a chip in all our heads. Isn't
I
that
thought that was
the
Bill
thing?
Gates.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, that was
sorry.
Bill Gates, yeah,
He's
injecting us
putting
with
it in
nanobots.
the vaccines into the arm, you know.
So we know. So he knows where we are all the time.
Yes.
Writes the people who are having a phone in their hand, which they keep on them constantly.
Borg. Resistance is futile.
Well, before we get too off track from our fondest memories, that was everything that you wanted to cover, Aki?
Yes, anything more is just waffle, I suppose.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We've kind of hung on this topic for a little bit, but
And we could talk about it all day, let's face it.
I mean, it's our first episode back in 2 years. I figure we're gonna go for a little bit. So
enjoy, everyone.
yeah. That being said, before we get to KSP2, I do have some fondest memories to talk about as well.
Please do.
And I've been thinking about them while the other three have been talking, and it really occurred to me.
He's joining this podcast, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. That's all
Has to be joining this
wanted to say.
podcast.
He's got
Okay,
nothing else to say. It's just this
Yeah,
podcast.
it's just that. Yep. Okay. Next.
Next, moving on, change
Right,
topic.
KSP2 news.
KSP2.
Sorry, carry on.
Everything I was thinking about was strictly in the game, but yeah, now thanks for the seventh one on the list.
And no, none of us had that. It's just you.
Yep. All right. Sure.
Ladies and
In
gentlemen,
terms of the
we're
game,
back.
though.
No, sorry.
Like-
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh God.
we got him.
I missed you guys.
And you still have never played the My Little Pony mod for KSP for
No,
us.
you have not, have you? What? The My Little
Don't
Pony
you
mod.
remember?
I think
I
that
think
should be
it
his
still
final
goes.
KSP1 stream.
Barely.
I think
His
it's still
final
a thing.
KSP1 stream. Like, I'm serious. Matoro,
Oh,
please.
That.
I don't know if it's even updated anymore.
I'm pretty sure it's... Well, mind you, I haven't looked in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's still there. It's still there. It's not too late.
Uh-huh. Well, think about that.
Make some
one.
new
what?
fondest memories.
Forget it. I'm gonna install it. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna record it, and I'm gonna tell Matoro everything that he's missing.
Oh,
It's
there you
happening.
go.
Done. Sorry,
Best
Matoro, go
stream
ahead,
ever.
please. Tell us
You
all
won't. Do
all
it.
of the
Do
stories.
it. I dare you.
All right, fine. Will.
Well, like how let's let Mater in his own words explain how happy he is to be on this podcast. Go on. Sorry.
It's moments like this that I will always cherish. Oh my God, you.
I edited the word cherish
1
in, by
second.
the way, people. It wasn't cherish in the original recording.
Yeah. That was clipped together with AI.
Yeah. Cherish.
This is the
cherish
moment
is
I
not
will
the actual
always
word.
cherish with you guys.
Okay, so yes. Yeah. I need a second.
We can carry on if you like. We'll
three go.
fill in this space.
It's these moments with you three that I will always cherish.
Oh,
But in,
go on.
in you.
Was it?
In
Is
terms
the
of-
second best cherishable moment was when I handed you the reins of this podcast. Because you're the one in control here. Don't forget that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm the showrunner. Huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
Any
You're
regrets?
doing a good job.
I'm trying.
It's like herding
I'm making
cats.
executive decisions on the fly. This is fine. But anyway, in terms of fondest memories strictly from the game,
Okay.
I'll shut up now.
strictly from the game Kerbal Space Program 1, fun,
It's when I followed you, wasn't it?
colloquially known,
Or was it when Digi subscribed to you?
Let him finish what he's gonna say.
It's too fun, Red. I've got to...
I know it's fun, but
Okay, I'm good. Where did he go?
Sorry, I just thought I'd give you a shot of the inside of my butthole.
oh my god.
So
Okay, there's something we can edit
I
out.
was just letting you talk, so I'm
There's
going
a lot
off
of
camera so that you can
unnatural
talk.
features.
You sure you don't want to edit this in post?
Oh, there'll be
Edit
lots
in
of
post.
editing, don't
Edit in
worry.
post.
Whatever you say, whatever your cherishable moments are, I'm just going to edit them out. All that remains is what we've just done.
Just a record scratch, some static, and back to it. But anyway, the fondest memory, I think some of the fondest memories I have in Kerbal 1, obviously, are I always think back to it, and I always come back to the first time. There's 5 specific moments. The first time I put something in orbit of Joule. God bless Jeb, he's still there. The first time I sent sent something to Duna. God bless Jeb, he's still there. The first time I put a rover on Duna, before the rover wheels were ever added, it was strictly on landing gear and RCS powered. That always sticks out in my head. And then the first time I put something on lathe, it was just a probe. Don't worry, Jeb's fine.
Have you ever thought about recovering these Jebs?
You know, I could load up point 18 and do that.
Point 18. That was a good release.
I think it was point 18. I'd have to find what save it was, but yeah. And then the 5th one, I think it's a tough tie. It's between 2 moments that happened on KSP TV. One time, and if you're familiar with the Outer Planets mod, you'll know what I'm talking about here, because the Outer Planets mod adds in analogs for Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. I basically dropped a plane from the Uranus analog Erlem straight into Kerbin's atmosphere.
Nice.
And stopped it with parachutes.
That would have been rather warm.
You were there.
I do remember being there. It was
You were there.
It was warm.
It was warm, yes. And then the other...
what was your re-entry speed?
like 32,000 kilometers per second.
It was ridiculous.
Kerbin was moving very fast on my monitor in real time.
Was it litho
That was a fun moment. And it still slowed down. I think it was somewhere on the order of... because this is before parachutes broke. or I had unbreakable joints. Something. They didn't break. That's
Unbreakable
the point.
joints. That's what I was trying to think of earlier, yeah.
Look,
there you go.
They
He
still
came
broke,
in
though.
so fast that there wasn't enough time for all of the parts to overheat and break.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that. I didn't totally have no re-entry heating on.
Jeb stepped out in the outer mantle of Kerbin.
No. He just got liquefied with like 6,500 Gs. It's fine. But you know, he got out in the end, and it was fine. But that moment ties with another moment. I think it was on KSP TV or it was my channel. I don't exactly remember, but it was one time with my Kerbal cannon. Actually, it was on my channel. I remember this because from
A Kerbal cannon, my God.
I remember something
from the
about
surface
Kerbal cannon.
from the surface of Kerbin, I yeeted a Kerbal, and obviously no re-entry heating, no damage, unbreakable joints, all that stuff. That was on. I yeeted a Kerbal into escape trajectory from the solar system.
That's quick.
Uh-huh. He was going fast.
Jeb's still there.
He's somewhere out there.
He's
I think it
still
was actually no. I think that may have been Val.
I mean,
It was
look,
Val or Bob.
I think
Jeb was somewhere else.
Val's a more sensible one. So,
Yeah, well.
yeah. Man, that's quick. That's so quick. Launching an
Yeah.
escape. Oh,
From
so
Kerbin.
fast.
And And do y'all remember how Kerbals, when they hit a certain point, how they would just start stretching and going
spaghettifying.
all over the...
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that.
That happened many a time before I managed to yeet one on escape velocity. That was a fun day.
I remember
That was a fun day.
hyper editing Minmus into low curb in orbit and watching it come over, which was amazing. But I got the Kerbal to jump, and it just got sucked up into Minmus, and all of a sudden it was on Minmus.
Wow.
Amazing.
Hyper-edit was fun.
HyperEdit, yeah. Oh, that's such a classic mod.
Yeah, look, Unity is a fantastic game engine. It is completely flawless. It has no problems whatsoever.
None, no.
It's the best game engine ever made, even though it contains code from 1994.
Wow.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, I found that out
Well, you
last
know
night
what?
and went, what?
I think that's a good segue, because guess what other game uses Unity? The one we're here to talk about.
Yep.
So, I think that's enough of memory lane, because it's time for KSP2 news.
Yay.
So, Aki, would you like to take the reins here?
Want to talk about KSP2? The game that was
it
originally
away.
supposed to be released in 2020.
Yeah.
But COVID.
Fun times, right?
But it's going to early access on the 24th of February, as we know.
I don't think it can be entirely blamed on COVID.
No, I think a lot of companies, not to get into that side of it, but I think a lot of companies blame a lot of stuff on COVID when COVID really is not to blame. It's just a perfect storm of
Everything.
everything.
I think they were
Yeah.
going to be behind no matter what, and COVID
Oh,
made
yeah.
a handy scapegoat.
Well, they did say in the interview that they wanted, which is so a bit of a, it's going into early access, which is something they said they weren't going to do. They wanted to release a finished game this time, but here we are with early access.
I think
Having
they
said
realised, though, that the majority of people who got into early access with Kerbal 1 really formed the game.
Yeah, what better game testers than Joe Public?
It's true.
And you know, and it's a way to make some money before the game release as well. So let's talk about the early access itself, which will be released for $50, and that will include all early access updates up until the 1.0 release. There's no mention of what will happen after 1.0. But it'll only be available
I
on
think
Windows.
the intention is that if there's any DLC after that, you know, you'll...
Well, now, the producer of Private Division, I think, said the early access is a strong foundation. KSP2 early access will be a strong foundation. It's not going to be the finished game. And they're going to add things onto that throughout the early access.
So if I take it back, it sounds to me very much like they're releasing a 0.25 KSP1. Does anyone remember version 0.25?
0.25 was
Yeah,
a very,
beta.
very good version, yeah.
It was a very good version, and we had it for a really long time.
Wait, 0.25, that wasn't beta.
No,
never mind.
0.90 was the beta.
0.90 was the beta. All right.
And it lasted for one update.
And everyone said,
Yeah.
it's not ready for release. It's not ready for release.
Yep.
But they released it anyway.
Yep.
But we're not here to talk about that.
Let's not dwell.
But does history repeat itself?
I don't think it will here.
I don't think so either. I think they've taken a few learnings this time around, and it's a different organisation. So,
It is.
you know,
It is a different organisation. Early access will not be the full game. Not all features will be available. And it'll only be available on Windows. Not Mac, not Linux, not consoles.
Really? I did not know that.
Just on Windows. For the early access, at least.
I can understand not being on consoles or Mac because you technically need to recode the entire damn thing.
It's all, it
Well,
all goes back
I
to
mean-
porting? Porting.
KSP1 wasn't available on consoles initially either.
True.
No,
This is
no.
true.
But it is now.
it is now. After
So.
a lot of very much needed updates on the console. But we're not here to talk about KSP1.
Yes.
No, but
Go.
that was reference to KSP2.
No. I was just stopping myself from going down a rabbit
Okay.
hole for the whole console thing on KSP1. Was it Flying Tiger? That's all I need to say. Isn't it?
Look,
Flying Tiger, then Star Theory, then Intercept. I think.
Anyway, the Xbox and PS5.
I think just to point out really quickly, I think what we are going to have over the next however long is everything that happens post-release of this early access version is going to be compared with KSP1.
It is. Well, we've got nothing else to compare it
that's-
to. It's quite natural.
Yeah, it's going to be the conversation point. How does this compare with KSP1? And I think, if you don't like that sort of conversation, don't get on Reddit for a while, because that's all it's going to be.
Yep.
So yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
Shall we talk about the latest video release for KSP2, which is episode 6 and the early access itself? Which I think is
I haven't-
all we'll
I
focus
haven't got
on.
a chance to watch that.
Have you not? Well, I can summarise for you.
Please do.
But I think we'll focus. If we just focus on that one episode for this episode, we'll focus on that one video for this episode. Digi Red, have you looked at the video at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check them all out.
The new UI, very very different to what we're used to.
I've seen screenshots of that, and
It's very
Not a
different.
fan.
You're not a fan?
no.
I'll-
I think it's chunky, and there's too much wasted space.
Yeah, fair enough. It's
I'm sure someone will mod in the old UI.
And I will use that immediately.
I'm sure they will. Maybe there's
Once I
even
have
a
a
toggle
GPU
for
that
it.
can run this game.
But the new UI looks very, very different. For better or for worse, it's just going to be down to personal taste, isn't it? There's no right or wrong here. But they are very proud of the new UI.
I should clarify. I mean, that's just on the screenshots I've seen. I'm sure I'll have a different opinion, or maybe a solidified opinion once I actually mess with it.
Yeah, I think you have to use it, don't you, to
Yeah.
really decide whether you like it or not.
First impressions, I'm skeptical.
It's because it's so different. It's radically different UI. It's very simple, very blue. I'm sure you can change the colors on that. But they said that they took a lot of their inspiration from real commercial airliner cockpits.
I do like the nav ball.
Yeah, and they were saying
the nav
that
ball is clean.
yeah, that's a good way to describe the UI. Actually, it's very clean.
Yeah.
It is a very clean UI, I think personally. But everyone's going to be different. So there's a new UI. That's all I'll say about it. Everyone can make up their own minds. I'll say it straight away now. Multiplayer is a big upfront feature, so it should be there from the get-go. There
really?
What
I
do you
thought
mean by
that
it
was-
from the get-go?
They-
Because their dev blueprint has it listed as like step 4 or 5, if I recall right.
The roadmap.
That's what I thought.
Well, the video suggested. Okay, well, we'll wait and see. But regarding the multiplayer, then, all right, I'll suck back on. There's going to be there on the early access. It'll be a big one not to be put into the early access because it's like one of the biggest things that everyone has been waiting for KSP.
I can
The
imagine the
KS
stability would be a bit of a challenge, though. So
The what? Sorry.
I think the stability would be the problem. Like they're trying to work out how the game is going to develop. I think it'll be interesting if they do include that, whether they're splitting resources around the development of the game and development of the net code, because the net code would that would be brutal. And
From
that's
what I
a whole
understand,
other project.
From what I understand, they started working on multiplayer pretty much straight away. It's been a major feature throughout the development. We'll see.
We'll see, won't we?
What I can say is that the KSC now has 2 runways, which the idea is that players can launch together.
I love the design of the new KSC from what we've seen.
Yeah. 4 launch pads.
It is beautiful.
4 launch pads.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean to say that you can have 4 people playing at once. Apparently you can have more than that. But there are 4 launch pads. So 4 rockets can launch at the same time. And they say that the multiplayer time warp problem has been resolved.
Really?
I don't know how they're going to do that. I'd
They-
be very
they-
curious to see.
Very curious to see. But they are being very quiet on the whole multiplayer front. And on the time warp thing, ships will now be able to burn while time warping.
I am a fan of that.
Not just your
Me
physics
too.
time warp, your super time warp.
One errand click and poof, you're out of fuel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think it's more for the ion engines and the nuclear engines, but yes.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
lovely.
Especially as there's interstellar stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Another big feature that
I
will
can't
be
wait
there
for
from
that.
the start is procedural wings.
I am looking forward to messing with those.
Yeah, so I would basically they're talking about tweak scaling, right? Like the old tweak scale mod. Just for wings.
Kind of. Well, because tweak scale used to up and down the size of the entire
Wing, yeah.
wing.
Yeah.
Whereas
But you can
the
adjust
procedure ones,
the-
you can
the length
stretch. Yeah, you can adjust
Yeah.
it in all dimensions.
Which is cool and all. Give me tweak scale on every part, please. I don't want just tweakable wings. I want tweak scale on everything so that I can make really, really small things and really, really large things. Hi, I'm the guy that likes to make sci-fi ships.
You need to cater this for this very specific need.
For this very specific need, you need to give me full access. Right now.
So you're gonna make a giant Borg cube out of panels,
Correct.
aren't you?
Yes. No, not out of panels. No, God, no, not out of panels. No, I'm going to make it out of something completely ridiculous. Like I'm going to get one of those
little
I-beams.
square probe core.
Yeah, the square probe core. That one.
enlarge
And just enlarge it.
Just put a
You know,
big
it's gonna
gun
be
on it.
The size of a planet, you know?
All right. We see where Digi's going with this.
Activate the
Yeah.
SAS and just knocks Kerbin out into another solar
Yeah,
system.
yeah, correct. Yes. I want to be able to create a
There's
giant golf
spinny
club.
cube.
A giant golf club out of Kerbal parts, and just so that I can knock the planets around. It'll be great. Or
Good luck
reenact.
with,
I love this
good luck with your
initiative.
PC.
Where can I sign up?
Reenact Red Dwarf. You know, playing pool with the planets.
Playing ball with planets.
Yeah.
You got to get
See, the
pished
thing about
first, though.
grit is it's black. And the thing about space is it's black.
So how are you
Sorry,
supposed to
I'm
see it?
derailing.
So before we get too off track, Aki,
Quick, shut me up. Bring us back on task.
I just edit you out as always. Boats. Boats will be encouraged, and there will be a
funny
boat
'cause it's
launch
true.
site as well. It is true. It's not true.
I'm very interested to see how they handle that.
Well, water physics. They'll have to have proper water physics. They haven't mentioned too much about it, but there will be a need for boats. By the sounds of it, particular missions, not just on Kerbin, but on other worlds, will require boats. So have to have interstellar
Cough, cough.
boats.
Drone ship. Cough, cough.
Well, there you go. Oh, and you'll like this one, mate.
Reusable boosters. Cough, cough.
The rocket sounds for the engines used in KSP2 will be
Yes.
recorded from real rockets. You know this.
I watched that video.
Yeah, there you go.
I was there for that launch. I just wasn't on site. It was a gorgeous day. Ooh.
There will be a heavy commitment to modders in KSP2. Modding will be a focus.
Yeah, I would wager they have recognized that the modding community is really what has kept Kerbal going all these years.
Yeah. And arguably has given, Squad back then, some ideas of what to include. Procedural wings in KSP2 was a mod in KSP1, for instance.
And I mean, just on this topic right now, one of the folks working on the game is Nertea.
Yes.
For those that may not know the provenance of that is the mod creator for all the near future stuff.
There you go.
I believe that's near
Huge.
future, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
it is,
no,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
near future.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
so.
Which is a huge
Yeah,
set
so
of
they've-
mods for KSP1.
they've got some good people working on this.
Right, a couple of things we know that are not going to be there. Well, one thing we haven't seen. I know that there's a lot of other stuff, but we have covered it in previous episodes. I know that those episodes are years apart. So, but to go back and listen to them, it's just a few clicks. But no one has seen any propellers in the videos that they've released. But
from last I heard, I don't think there will be propellers.
well, something that is confirmed not to be, at least in the initial release, is the robotics.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The robotics will not be there for the... But, you know, they won't be there for the early access. And one thing they keep stressing through the videos is the size of this game. It is huge. And then going on the producer, what the producer said, the early access is a strong foundation. So
what they're saying is we're getting Black Ops 2 size game, like in that it's like 70 gig, and then every single update is another 70 gig, and then every update is a 70 gig download. You know, you just keep going 70 gig every single time until
Giggity,
the directory...
giggity.
Yeah, giggity.
giggity goo.
And then we end up with like a 300 gig install, and it's like, yeah, so we're not even in beta yet.
Well, should we talk about one of the latest posts going off of what you just said? Should we do it?
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
I think we need
I
to.
think it's time to open the can of worms.
The system requirements. Someone do that in a really deep voice with one of your voice changer things.
Gotcha.
Something like this.
The system requirements. System requirements.
Because if system requirements was a person and came up to you to deliver the system requirements news, it would probably sound like that.
Yeah, it'll sound like this.
Not like this.
No, that's KSP1 standing next to KSP2 looking up at system requirements.
It's a tiny little voice going, Daddy?
So, does anyone get the feeling that it might be a bit of a wind-up?
What do you mean by a wind-up?
Yeah,
you mean
what do
like
you mean?
they're creating controversy, or it's actually bullshit? Is that what you mean?
Either of those, yeah.
No.
Don't forget the NASA beep.
Fine. Shit.
But yeah, no,
I think the key here is that under no circumstances did they want a situation where they had set the requirements to X and they needed X plus 1 for release.
That's another
think-
alternative idea, yes.
I think that they have seen too many games get burnt by understating the system requirements out the gate, and they may have overstated them now. At least I hope that's true, because I can't play those system requirements right now.
yep,
No.
neither can I.
It does say, if you read, not necessarily in between the lines, but if you do read it properly and thoroughly, it certainly can be interpreted that you need these requirements to play an absolutely flawless game. Or play KSP2 absolutely flawlessly.
Look,
With all
let's-
elements. Which goes into colonies and interstellar, and all those things need to be calculated, don't they? But, go on, you say what you're saying, Digi.
Yeah, let's get specific though. Right. What is actually the minimum requirements and what is recommended? And I think that makes a really big difference. I got to say though, one thing that really bugs me, being the pedantic person that I am, in the minimum requirements, in the CPU, they actually have the AMD processor at the top, the Intel processor at the bottom. The recommended, they have the Intel processor at the top and the AMD processor at the bottom. Guys, get it in the same order, because my OCD is just losing it right now.
Apparently, they
you've
made a
got it in the
typo in it
opposite
as well.
way.
Damn, I never noticed that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, yeah. Kill me. Anyway,
But the minimum requirements are still a high-end gaming PC, really.
correct. Yeah. I mean, look, they're talking about an Intel i5 6400. 6400s are a fairly current generation, aren't they?
So the 6 means that it's a 6th generation.
Yeah.
They're on like 12 or 13 now, though, aren't they?
They are, but I mean, they release a new processor every year or two, so it's not that old. I mean, the computer that my son uses next to me, that's a computer I used to stream on and run KSP at the same time. It did it all. And
I'm out of the
was
loop
an
because I'm running a Threadripper on my system, so I'm not up to what is the generation.
Well, that my point is that's a 3rd generation computer, Intel i7. In fact, it was an i5 that I used to run it on, and I used to handle KSP and all the requirements for streaming all on its own. So it's pretty decent, and that was a 3rd generation. So the minimum requirement is 3 generations above that, just to run it. But what's more interesting is a 6th generation Intel processor. I'm talking Intel because I don't do AMD, so I don't really understand how they correlate. But a 6th generation processor isn't that much of a big deal, really. What is a big deal is the graphics cards. I think that's what's bogging people down, because the KSP was infamously CPU intensive and not that graphics heavy. Now it seems to have reversed. Now it seems to be graphics intense for some reason, GPU intensive, and the processor doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is if they've somehow managed to offload the rendering of the planets or something like that into the graphics card,
Maybe.
given how visually stunning they look.
Yes. Yeah, that is certainly one theory, isn't it?
I do have something else to add here.
Yeah.
Nerdy Mike, who is he's the community lead for a private division on KSP2, just so we know who he is, tweeted out today. He said, we'll still be optimizing throughout early access as well. This is not the minimum spec for 1.0 or even through the life of early access as well.
Yes. I think we need to look at early access as beta. Well, it is beta.
But saying that that's not really the minimum requirements for 1.0 means that they've got some very interesting things planned post 1.0.
It seems like they got a lot of stuff planned.
And that worries me a little bit.
Access. Yeah.
What does that mean? Does that mean that we're going to see tons of DLC that change the core game? Are we going to be starting to see a paradox level kind of thing? What are we looking at here?
God, paradox level. Don't get me started.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, because you look at KSP1 and they got to the point where most of what you might have added with DLC was already available in mods.
Yeah.
And so what are we looking at here? And I just don't know. There's too many unknowns right now. And I think we need to be very careful. But I say that the current minimum specs that they released just 2 days ago, those are pretty insane in my mind.
They are.
So that's my take on it.
And for reference, for those listening that may not have seen this, for the GPU alone,
minimum,
they're saying the minimum is an NVIDIA RTX 2060 with 6 gigabytes of VRAM, or an AMD Radeon 5600 XT with 6 gigabytes of VRAM.
And the recommended...
This is where things get fun. Recommended is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080. Or an AMD...
there's the typo.
They typoed that.
Yeah, that's a typo.
Okay.
Oh my
An
God.
AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT.
Yeah, so most people are still running 1000 series. Some people are still running 900 series graphics cards.
I was going to say, I'm not running a 1000.
No, but some
I
people
have a
are.
980, so yeah, I'm in the 900. I'm in the 900 class high.
There you go. There you go.
So,
Remember
so
to
just
Titan,
to put it
but
in
it's-
perspective for all Australians, basically, if you want a 3080, it's going to set you back $1,300.
That's just for the graphics card.
Australian, that is.
Yeah.
So, but I mean that's out of date effectively. In order for you to get a graphics card that is comparable, you need to get one that is technically higher because 30 series cards are not actually being made anymore.
No.
So, or at least 3080s aren't, because what would be the point, really? So you would have to actually get a card that's better. From it, like, don't take this as absolute gospel, but as essentially, you're going to have to step it up to something like a 40 series card, like a 4070 or a 4080, and 4080s are basically $2,000. So, you know, it's not a small amount of money, honestly, and to
Especially with
reach
the cost of living
recommended
these
specs.
days.
Right? Yeah. I don't discourage anyone from making a buck, but all you guys that did crypto and everything and made crypto miners, my personal opinion, you fuck the graphics card market. I want a
Hugely.
graphics card, man.
It's not just that, though. It's the car market as well. All the silicon's gone.
It's complicated, but yeah, like
Yeah.
the graphics cards, they are incredibly expensive now, and to reach those recommended specs, you've got to go current gen.
Scalpers
Because they're
as
just
well.
not.
Scalpers and crypto
Yeah.
miners. Anyway,
Yeah.
different podcast.
Different podcast, different conversation, but it's expensive.
Never mind the graphics card. The RAM is what we expected too, but I mean, if you need to upgrade RAM, that's not cheap either.
No, RAM's not cheap anymore, is it? No.
Because recommended is 16 gigabyte of RAM, minimum's 12.
Yeah, you know what though? I was pricing up some computer parts recently, and RAM itself, 32 gig is probably where I would start when building a system. I'm more the kind of guy that would go for 64 RAM because just like in my brain, I have 400,000 tabs open in my Google Chrome. So, you know, it's...
So what I'm getting here is you want to run Minecraft at 32 chunk render distance, right?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what I want. I'm glad I got that. 64 gig is what I was pricing at around about 350 Australian, which is not bad.
For RAM, that doesn't seem bad, no.
That's not bad. So RAM has come way down, and I think a lot of that goes back to costs from years ago. There was some concern about the manufacture of silicon chips and RAM and all of that, micro, whatever. Anyway, the cost of all of that being manufactured was being overstated and overinflated. It has now resolved. So I think we're seeing that there. It's just the graphics cards that need to be sorted now.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, out of reach for a lot of people, there's a lot of comments in the, well, I won't say Reddit, but the KSP forums as well, that they've just lost 80% of their customers because 80%
The
of their
KSP
customers...
Discord has exploded with that as well. So I'm actually on the KSP2 Discord, and it's...
But they did say...
People were upset.
Yes, very much so. But they did say, as in, I don't know what to call it now, private division, they did stress that it is to run the game absolutely flawlessly in every respect. Now, what does that really mean? No one knows at the moment, so it's probably not enough to bring people comfort. But what does it mean to run every aspect of the game flawlessly?
We don't know yet.
No.
Could the complaints be a storm in a teacup? We're just not going to know until it lands.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure that someone
6
with a
days.
1080... I'm sure... What graphics card? You got a 980, Mater?
980, yep.
I'm pretty sure you better run it.
980.
I'm pretty sure you better run it. I can't see why not. Maybe you can't go into Stellar on that graphics card. Well, we don't know. We don't know. To be honest, there's very little point speculating about it, or we can just deliver the facts on a couple of theories as to why, and what people are saying about it.
I need to upgrade my card anyway, so this is a good push, but it still is just painful.
Yeah. And I will stress that this is early access. Going back to that early access, I think this isn't going to be the sort of early access where they release it. The players that are bought into early access find a few bugs which they iron out, and then they release 1.0. I think early access is going to be around for quite a while, and I think they will slowly implement features. I said before a couple of times, they've built a good foundation here. That's what they're saying. And they will implement features slowly over time. Possibly we could be talking certainly months. I'd say at least a year from my feel of it. What are you going to say, Digi?
Yeah, I was going to say at least a year. I would say quite possibly 2 before they get anywhere close to full release. Because there's a lot going into this one.
And they do stress that as well, yeah. It's a very complicated system. Yeah. So I think early access will be around for quite some time. I think we are seeing... Oh, God, will we even get the full... Will we even get Interstellar to begin with, I wonder? Remember when KSP was first released? It was just Kerbin and the Moon.
They said they're not. They've said they're not going to have Interstellar, and they're not going to have colonies in the outset.
So early access probably will just be the Kerbal system, at best.
Yep.
And you know what? I think a lot of DLCs will be additional systems. They've certainly got some star systems that they've already put in to the core game. The core game not necessarily being early access, the core game being 1.0.
Just so you know, I have the roadmap in front of me.
Yes.
The early access is focused on improved user experience, explore revamped Kerbal system with new parts, and all new tutorial onboarding. Now, what worries me is that says early access, then they go to science on their roadmap. Now, my question is, does that mean that they release 1.0 before they start releasing these other elements of the game? Or are these other parts of early access? I don't know. But they then say the next phase is science gathering and tech tree progression, then colony parts and orbital vehicle construction, which means to me you may not even have docking ports to begin with. Then Interstellar, which adds a new star system and interstellar scale parts. Then exploration with a new star system to be revealed, and resource gathering, which isn't until like 4 stages down. And then multiplayer. And then unknown.
Do you know what? Go on.
So here, I'm going to, just so you guys have it here real quick.
I wonder if they're... So I've watched... One of the most recent videos is a tutorial video, which I think looks pretty good, actually. I don't know if anyone's watched it. But it's a good tutorial video, just explaining some things, not necessarily showing how to play the game, just explaining some things. Now, they're obviously targeting this game at everyone. The initial buyers certainly will be KSP1 users. Now, KSP1 users, if they dropped Interstellar Travel into KSP1 straight away, KSP1 users, if the game is... We can't really change physics that much, so... KSP1 users probably just be able to build a ship good enough for Interstellar and then zoom off straight into another solar system and explore that, completely bypassing the Kerbin system, which would then really be a spoilers for people that are just coming into KSP2 for the first time, having never done KSP1. So I wonder if they might purposefully... step the progression so everyone's going along together. So once so KSP1's been around, we know what the KSP1 system, the Kerbal systems look like. Seasoned players can go exploring that as they see fit, and not ruin too much for the new KSP2 players. And while KSP2 players are getting to grips with how it all works, and they start going around and exploring the Kerbal system, at a later stage, they will then drop interstellar travel, and then everyone can kind of go and do it together.
Here's my theory on that that roadmap graphics, though. Right, the roadmap graphic shows early access, then all of the different things, science, interstellar, blah blah blah, on it goes. There is no point in that where they have marked down full release. Now, full release is a pretty monumental thing. So if they are going to have that in the roadmap, then they would definitely put that in there somewhere. So I think
know. Maybe.
Yeah. My thought is that it is such an important marketing aspect that you would need to have that in there somewhere. If it's not there,
right.
I would say it's not happening any time before any of those steps are done.
I hope you're right, but I just don't know. And we're going to have to wait and find out. This is not something, I mean, we're just speculating. But
well, it would
anyway,
make sense.
I wanted you guys to make sure, I wanted to make sure you guys had seen that roadmap is all.
I had seen the roadmap, but it's handy having it open while we talk about it, because the multiplayer comes after interstellar exploration, which kind of lends towards what I was saying, that, again, if we were playing multiplayer, if multiplayer came out on early access, we could drag some new players straight to an interstellar world, and they would have missed all the fun in the Kerbal system. Yeah. It's kind of a cheat for them if we take them with us. Do you know what I mean? And might ruin the experience for them. And that's what it's all about, is experience, isn't it? Really, that's what Private Division wants everyone to have with this game is the experience. And if they release multiplayer at the beginning, it could all be backwards for a lot of people. So, do you know what? I think, Matey, you want to say something before I start wandering off again?
Yeah. I was just going to say, my take on reading this roadmap graphic is I'm reading it more like a Trello board for early access entirely than anything else. Like, it's just a grouping of things that they want to get done for early access.
I think 1.0 could come after early access and before science.
Well, I would hope so.
But then science colonies interstellar.
I would hope it would come after early access.
No, but
sorry, I meant it slots between
science.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't think it would. Personally, I don't think it would come between there. But I do continue your thought. Sorry.
No, or maybe. I think
actually, let me see if I can pop this up on the recording.
It's hard to say, really, because if obviously anything after any of those stages in that roadmap would have to be free updates, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. So do they release early access? So they do early access, get that all polished up, release it as 1.0, and then they start doing all these free updates, science, colonies, interstellar. They got to generate money. So at some point after these bits here of the roadmap, there has to be DLC. But then, I mean, does it matter where 1.0 comes in?
So I'm going to just pop this up on the recording so everybody can see it.
And the other
I don't know whether it matters necessarily.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
At the same time, I can understand why it would, because there's so many things in that. Ultimately, we don't want to end up with a No Man's Sky situation, right? Where the game is basically bare bones, gets completely released, and then all of the features don't come until 3 years later. Mm-hmm. Right? That would be absolute garbage, because I've been there and I don't want to be there again. So I would be very, very disappointed. It doesn't necessarily matter where it's going to be, but they need to set expectations. Hey, all of these things are not going to come until after full release, sort of thing.
And just another thing, taking a look at that graphic, you can see on the edge there's more there.
Yes, there is more there.
Yeah.
It's blurred out, though, by the looks of it.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So that might be the start of DLCs. And they wanted to get to 1.0 as quickly as possible because they've said that Linux, Mac, and consoles won't come out until after 1.0.
Until 1.0, yeah.
Okay, is it bad? The first thing I think of when I hear Linux is Linux Guru Gamer.
No, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
Not if you're in the KSP community, it's not.
Like, nope, sounds accurate.
I'm like, why are we talking about Linux here? Then it clicked. I'm like, oh, right, the operating system.
Well,
Yeah,
1.0
yeah. It's like
could...
running Doom. He is a KSP machine, sort of like running Doom on everything.
1.0 could come between Colonies and Interstellar as well. Or any of the stages before that. It doesn't matter. To be honest, it doesn't matter when 1.0 comes.
At this point, I think there's no need in speculating further.
It's
just
not really
because,
important.
I mean, we're still...
Yeah.
Right now, we're 6 days out from the release. So I think we've said all we can say about this roadmap.
We'll find out in 6 days. Well,
yeah, we will.
What early access is about anyway.
Yes.
And a lot more
yes,
will
we
be
shall.
said after that, I'm sure. But we've got...
And we will find out how many graphics cards are going to explode on that day.
That'll be the most interesting thing, I think.
Uh-huh.
How well does
run
it
it and
run?
who can't?
Yeah, who can and can't run it?
And I'm not even going to be able to find out for another week after.
And are those minimum requirements, are the specifications, is that just to run early access? Or is that take into account the full scope of the game in its entirety once all these other elements of the roadmap have been implemented?
After the bloat, yeah.
You see, one thing I have a good feeling about with Kerbal 2 is they haven't used anything over code-wise from KSP1. It's completely built from the ground up, so it's not going to have that patchwork that has always been a problem for Kerbal 1.
And if I can add to that, this has been started from the very beginning by coders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not people learning how to code.
Yep.
Nothing to take
And
nothing away
that's
from
not a
Harvester.
slight on-
No, Philippe, no, not at all.
That's not a slight on anybody from Squad or Harvester. They did exceptional work with what Kerbal 1 is.
Yes. But it's just a matter of fact that this is being started by experienced coders already.
Experienced coders who are, 1, fans of the original game, and 2, have that passion to make it right, to get it done right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, the minimum requirements are still a concern for a lot of people, but we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Hey, Intercept, you want to spot us some new GPUs? That'd be great.
Yeah. I don't even think I'm going to get a free copy of it at this point.
Right? Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah, but they
KSP's
love us.
longest and only running podcast.
They love
you said,
us because we're the longest running Kerbal podcast.
with all 4
we are.
episodes
That's what
that
it
we
is.
have.
Don't
You
downsell
missed
it.
a digit on there.
We got more than 4.
We have.
We
But
do,
look, there's
we
the
do.
Deb system. There's a star system called the Deb system.
Yep.
And after that, there's another star system yet to be revealed, which will be the resource gathering.
Mm-hmm. Well, all that being said, not to cut the conversation off, but we've been at this topic for quite a little while now. So
Can I add something before?
Go
of course,
ahead.
Before
Final thoughts.
it's
final thoughts.
It's
yes.
not quite final thoughts. It's to do with Easter eggs. Now, the new Kerbal system and beyond is going to be listed with Easter eggs, maybe even procedural from bits and pieces that people have been saying.
Kerbal 1 has a single procedural Easter egg now. So,
Oh, does it?
oh, do you not know about that?
No.
Okay, it's nothing
Spoiler
special.
alert.
Okay, spoiler alert. Cover your ears now if you don't want to hear, or mute the tab. So yes, Kerbal 1 has on each body one procedurally placed green monolith.
Oh, no, I did know about that.
A green monolith.
It's
Yes.
like a dark green. You can barely tell it's not the normal ones.
And it can unlock a note of science for you.
And actually, the reason I know about that is because this next bit I wanted to say links directly to those monoliths. So, in the end of episode 6, the KSP2 development videos, which was about early access, at the end, the very end of the video, there's a picture of someone in the background pottering around. In the foreground is it looks like KSP1 actually, but anyway, this computer's running with the game running, and there's this sound that's amplified. Now, if you run that sound through filters and stuff and through binary, it produces an image file. Very similar.
Yep.
Very similar to the image that was sent to that star cluster red that you covered many episodes ago, where they actually misjudged it, and by the time our signal gets there, it'll be way off. The cluster will be, I think it was a nebula actually. But you know the image I'm talking about, the digital binary image, all the dots going down. It looks like a little human standing there, and the satellite dish, and it's got how we do things and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's not as good as the golden record, but it's interesting.
It is interesting. Well, if you convert that sound file into an image, it produces something very similar. And
where was the sound file?
At the very end of episode 6.
Okay.
And if you go to Shadow Zone does a review of that episode, and at the end of his video, he brings up that image. Shall I grab it for you so you can see it?
I wonder if that's going to tie to the old pyramid on Duna.
Well now, I will.
You remember?
Yes, I do remember.
I remember
that.
Isn't that behind?
That's broken
isn't that
now.
Below the scenery now?
Yeah,
I think it's
it's
not.
broken now.
It's not there at all now. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, we used to have Carl Sagan in a crater there as well. So
That was Tylo, but yes.
that was Tylo, was it? Oh,
Yep,
I always
yep,
thought
that
that was
was Tylo.
Duna. Never mind.
Which I think is now, that was before the biomes were added, so I think that was now the location of the Sagan Sea or something like that.
That's awesome.
I don't remember which planet the Sagan Sea is on, but I know there's one in the solar system.
I love it. Very cool.
It's great.
If you bear with me
But,
a couple of minutes, I'll get this video.
You go ahead and do that, but I think I'm going to go ahead and segue us to the next section because we have been going for quite a while.
I want to talk
now.
about this thing though. Shall I just talk about it first and then get you the image?
Yes, go ahead and talk about it, and then we'll get the
Okay,
image.
right.
We'll get
So
the image later.
this is from the Kerbal Wiki. Okay, so this references the monoliths. This references this video that I'm talking about, the sound file, blah blah blah, and the SST signal that Digi was on about on Minmus.
SSTV.
Thank you. Okay, from the wiki. In a forum post from late 2013, squad member Jeff C., who's Nova Salisco, described an idea he had for connecting many Easter eggs into a story concerning a civilization which predated the Kerbals. Experiments with interstellar travel resulted in the homeworld of this precursor civilization being flung out into an extremely distant orbit. Before they froze to death, they launched monoliths and other messages onto many planets and moons in hopes of seeding intelligent life. Instead, they created Kerbals, not so intelligent. The planet would not show up in any map and would be too distant to be observed with a telescope, making locating it by chance nearly impossible. However, players would be able to find transmitters beaming out SSTV signals on various bodies, each one of which would provide part of the orbital parameters necessary to locate it. The planet would be a bit smaller than Kerbin, covered in ruined cities and frozen oceans, and perpetually in twilight due to being so far from Kerbal. The only element of this narrative which made it into the game is the SSTV transmitter on Duna, which was one of the Easter eggs, which transmits an image originally intended to depict 4 members of the precursor civilization standing on their homeworld, with the logo of their government. Had the narrative story been completed, it would also have contained part of the orbital parameters. Because the story was never implemented into the game, this explanation of the SSTV signals imagery is arguably non-canon. So, this image that can be made from the end of episode 6 video that looks like it would be an image relating to what I've just been talking about, thinks that they have put an Easter egg that people, if they gather, what I would imagine is if they gather all the information from the monoliths and get these signals and they put them all together,
They'd
it
be able to
might
find the body.
might be able to find and spawn the body. How cool would
That's
that be?
interesting. That would be cool. That'd be real cool.
That'd be a nice callback.
Yeah. Love to see him do it.
That's
Love to
just
see a bit of story.
speculation. That is just speculation from the community. And that post
Well,
can be found
sometimes
from the Kerbal
speculation
Space
from the-
Program wiki as well.
Sometimes speculation from the community gets embraced by the developers. So
It
you
is
never
true.
know.
Yeah. And look, honestly, Private Division, please take that idea and run with it, because that would be real cool. I'm just saying.
It would be. Yes, it would.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to add, just to finish off the KSP2 stuff, because I think that's quite a nice way to finish it. A bit of excitement, speculation.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I'm sure we'll have plenty more Kerbal 2 to talk about in the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we get to that. But for now, that's going to move us out of KSP2 news and into skipping real space, because, well, we're not doing that this time. We're going straight to the Red Ed corner.
Ah!
Hi.
Formerly, Red's History Corner.
Although we are
Red
covering
Space
some
History.
history today. So,
Rather relevant piece of history, really.
yes. So I wanted to speak a little bit about spy satellites. In particular,
What, not spy balloons?
No. Well, we'll get there. Hold on. So the United States has been using spy satellites since the late 1950s, early 1960s. We don't know entirely everything. Most of it was declassified in 1992. So we know quite a bit, but even the stuff that was done back then is not necessarily fully declassified. You know, we've been given quite a bit actually, in particular about what was called the Corona series. Yes, you heard me right. The Corona series of satellites that were designed to replace the U-2 after one of them had been shot down over Russia.
Wait,
It
you
did
mean
not replace.
coronavirus is actually a conspiracy? Oh my god!
Yeah, no, the Corona satellite may have been part of this program all along. I knew it.
Oh,
They were
no!
responsible for it. In any case, the project, you have to remember the era we're talking about. They didn't have digital cameras. So what they did was they put actual cameras with actual film in orbit, had them take pictures, and then had them come back down and recover them and develop the film. And we're talking about, some pretty heavy duty technology. They discovered that the film that they were using wouldn't work properly because of the effects it went through. And so they literally had to have new film developed so that they could keep it from turning brittle while in space and under these conditions. They slowly upgraded the cameras and so on and so forth until they got to the point that we know of. By 1961, they could identify and resolve objects that were merely 5 feet in diameter. This is 1961.
Wow.
And they were taking pictures of hundreds of miles at once. So put that into some context. We know that this is, much, much, much out of date at this point, right? We know that what we've got now most likely leaves all of this to shame. And we know we don't have to recover the satellites anymore.
Yeah.
They actively broadcast and so on and so forth. And more importantly, we know lots of countries have spy satellites. Now, the Corona project was officially discontinued in the 70s, but we know that they obviously continued doing spy satellites. It's just that particular project was discontinued. Odds are they replaced it with digital cameras and broadcasting systems and all kinds of fancy things. If you want to know more, you can find a whole bunch of it on Wikipedia and various historical websites that will give you all the information about the complex systems of recovering them. They were trying to grab them in midair as they came down in parachutes. Many of them had a salt plug in the bottom of it so that if it landed in water and they were unable to recover it in 2 days, it would sink to the bottom of the ocean.
To be destroyed.
This is the kind of
Yeah.
And after one of them was recovered by a Venezuelan farmer, they removed the top secret classification signals all over it and instead replaced in 8 languages an indication that you would get a reward if you contacted it.
That's smart.
Didn't open
that's
it.
1960s smart. That is brilliant.
So instead of saying top secret, it now said, if you find this, please return it to here and you will get a reward. So that people wouldn't think that it was necessarily top secret. And,
Amazing.
yeah, that's pretty
That's great.
cool, isn't it? They went from 1 camera to 2 cameras to 3 cameras. They did stereoscopic, panoramic, constantly rotating cameras so that they could
a mouthful.
determine how things stuck out and things like that.
To get almost like a 3D appreciation
Exactly.
of the terrain. Yeah.
But considering how high up it was, that must have been incredible technology. I mean, we just don't know. But
Yeah.
so,
Because without that, you get the effects like the spoon on Mars. Who remembers that?
yes, or the
When
face
NASA
on
had
Mars.
to drive
The
around
face
the
on
corner
Mars.
to prove that it wasn't a floating spoon.
Exactly. So to put this in context and to give it some modern relevance, as of right now, there's been a whole series of what people are calling spy balloons over the United States that appear to be from China. We don't know if they're really spy balloons, but it's important to note that there are 3 confirmed public knowledge spy satellites from China that the United States government has publicly acknowledged that fly over the United States on a regular basis.
Right.
So,
And let's be fair. Everyone's doing it to everyone.
Yeah.
yes,
It's just the
Russia.
whole
Anyone who has
don't get caught doing it situation.
anyone who has
yeah.
a space program has spy satellites. There is no doubt that anyone who has a space program has spy satellites. And in fact, there's some theory that the reason we didn't want to allow the militarization of space was we didn't want anyone to be shooting down our spy satellites. So you can do spy satellites, but you better not shoot them down.
Yeah.
So
That was probably a
know
universal
nothing.
agreement between all countries.
Yeah. They full Schultz everything.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah,
put spy
so-
satellites up. Don't shoot us down. Well, only if we can put spy satellites up ourselves. Okay, fair enough.
exactly.
We'll
So
just spy on everyone. Everyone's
So-
spying on each other.
think about what you can find in Google Maps right now. When you look at the satellite view in Google Maps and realize that that's probably 2 or 3 generations behind what we have for spy satellites.
Google buys the whole technology off of them, probably.
Exactly. So anyone who's worried about a balloon picking up images of where our nuclear silos are because it flew over them, realize that you already know where the nuclear silos are if you're complaining about the balloon flying over it, right? So it's not like it's some national secret, first of all. And second of all, they already have satellites to do that. Now, odds are that the balloons were not picking up that kind of thing. They were probably picking up signals or some other kind of thing. We don't know. And for all we know, they may not have even been spy things to begin with. But I just thought it would be interesting to go back and take a look at the history of spy satellites, how it started, and how, how good the technology was even in the 60s. The technology was incredible even in the 60s. So to be worried about a balloon now, when we know that China has spy satellites, is a little strange.
Yeah.
Well,
And
went
look,
to the moon in the
look
60s.
Yeah, true. But to assist with the perspective on it, the Corona satellite article in Wikipedia does actually have an image of the film bucket payload. If you take a look at just that image in and of itself, that's really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is what they sent back. And you can see that it's a tiny little, well, potentially monoprop engine on the back of it just to slow it down. And it re-enters the atmosphere. and then
Yeah, it had a
directly
heat
above
shield,
it in
and
that,
then it had a heat shield to jettison the heat shield, and then use parachutes to come the last bit.
yeah. And if you look at the image just above it, it actually has the recovery maneuver. Like that's just nuts to me that they were doing that in the 60s. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, it's interesting how military stuff became used for common non-military stuff. And it's also very interesting, just to know some of our history about these things. So I didn't want to make this a huge history corner because I knew we were going to be talking about a lot of other things, but I thought it was just a fun little thing to throw in there.
Good timing.
Interesting little.
Most definitely.
I mean, this thing just shows that James Bond plots are not really that far fetched, are they?
No. They're probably struggling to, to outdo the current technology levels with their ideas.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the current satellites probably pick up a heck of a lot more than just visual light spectrum and all of that. I'm sure that's a large portion of what the current technology is improved on.
Yeah.
And some of the pictures that were declassified from the 60s and 70s have led to the discovery of archaeological sites and things like that.
Yeah.
That
Pyramids. Pyramids are cool as hell.
So when they declassified them, people started examining these things and finding, hidden in jungle kind of things and stuff like that. So it's interesting where some of this leads. So
Unless a lot of the weather balloons are just people cooking popcorn over a helium camping stove.
But
look, the spy satellite that was shot down recently, no, it was just someone trying to reenact the movie Up.
What have you done?
It's like, no!
anyway, that's my Ed corner this time. So that's all I got this time, but I think that's fun. So
Well, that'll be the new thing now. Red Ed.
Yep.
Red Ed.
Red Ed.
like
Yep.
Education.
Not always history now.
No.
All right. We got Red Ed now, y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
Onward.
Which I guess is going to take us to our next newish corner.
There's another corner.
Digi dad joke.
Oh,
No, look, I always throw in a dad joke. Guys, I know we're going to wrap things up pretty soon, so I thought I'd at least throw a couple of dad jokes at you.
Yay.
First and foremost, dogs are incapable of running MRI machines, but cats can.
Yeah.
let's try not to
5 out of
laugh.
4 people admit they're bad at fractions. It takes guts to be an organ donor. And finally, I'll wrap it up with, what kind of music do chiropractors like? Hip hop. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's great.
I wondered why that
Oh,
frisbee
fine.
was
All right.
getting
Fine.
bigger.
One.
and then
Fine.
it hit
One
me.
more. No, one more. How does a penguin build his house? It glues it together.
Bye.
Is this really how we want to finish our podcast?
I mean,
Yes.
it's how I finish everything with disappointment.
We can't actually finish the
It's-
podcast because mate has walked off.
I know.
and
but
left the
no,
room.
it's fine.
Okay.
Oh, no, he's
I
back.
lied. I didn't really leave.
I say you're the only one that can shut this thing off.
Yes,
we'll
I
be
am.
sat here for ages.
I'll just drag it out for eternity. Limitless, eternal boosters and space tape. It's what you all want.
With 2-year gaps.
We'll never leave again. We can't go away if we never end, right?
I think starvation and dehydration will catch up with us pretty quickly.
Well, yeah.
And my need
There's
earn
details
money
we
to
need to iron
live.
out. there's details that need to be ironed out, but I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Eventually.
So the ironic thing is this
Eventually.
is an offline recording, so no one will ever hear it.
If we don't stop,
There's
yes.
a technicality there. We're punishing the world by never stopping recording. There's no one to see it, so joke's
Day
on you.
392. We're still going. We're still talking about the system requirements. We're still searching for GPUs. Oh, God, help us.
It's a
February
butterfly.
2027.
It was
February
It's
2027.
so beautiful,
Yeah.
but I was so hungry.
Hey, February 2027, I can finally afford a 4090.
Hey!
If I just don't eat for 3 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, what'd the drummer call his twin daughters? And a 1 and a 2.
And on that note, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up.
Good night, Gracie.
Oh, my goodness. I missed you guys.
I missed you, man.
This has been great.
It has.
So,
See you in
next episode, when we doing it?
2 years. 2 years. 2 years to the month.
2
2 years? All right.
2 years, yeah, cool.
2 years.
Cool.
Let's go.
Let's set realistic goals.
2 weeks.
All right.
I know,
2
Aki,
weeks.
you're unavailable in a couple of weeks, but how about we all
available.
get together and we'll do another one, just the three of us in Aki's
Yep.
stead?
I think so.
Sounds good to me. So that will be March 4th. And if we're going to keep the same time we wanted to do today, that will be 3 p.m. CST or 9 p.m. GMT, UTC, whatever. Whichever one you want. They're the same thing. More or
And
less.
the next one
Yeah.
should be actually live.
That it should. And ideally, this 2-hour episode will be live at some point in between that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So on that note, let's go ahead and wrap this up and say thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Boosters and Space Tape podcast. We'll be back soon. We'd like to thank Popsky for our commissioned intro and outro. It's not on the, no. We'd like to thank Popsky for our commissioned intro and outro music. You can find all his music on his Bandcamp at popsky.bandcamp.com. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Boosters and Space Tape, and I've been led to believe there will be we'll be on the Clock app soon. Yes.
TikTok?
The Talk Tick?
That
TikTok,
thing.
yes.
Something like that.
We'll be on there soon. You can shoot us any questions or feedback to boostersandsspacetape@gmail.com or tag us on Twitter. And to keep up with the live recordings, you can follow on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Matoro, Matoro. You can subscribe to the Boosters and Space Tape podcast on various platforms, including... Are we still on iTunes?
Yes.
Okay, iTunes, Libsyn, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. That's all on here. Aki can fix this in post if it's not accurate. You're welcome, buddy.
Just cut out 2 hours and 11 minutes of the recording.
Intro, outro. That's it.
Done.
Cut everything else
See you in
out.
2 years.
All right, y'all. I have been Matoro, and with me has been Akinesis Gaming,
Hello, bye-bye.
Digital Psychosis,
Hello, bye-bye!
and the Red Panda.
Gazebo.
Hey!
Minmus.
Y'all, thanks again. We'll catch you soon for more Kerbal, Real Space, and other sciencey stuff. And we're out of here. Thank you for watching. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
Should it be relaunched again?
I'm stopping the audio if that's okay.
Yes.
Waka, waka, waka.